Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime. We've got a full review of TNA's Bound for Glory pay-per-view this past weekend, a preview of WWE Bragging Rights coming up on pay-per-view this Sunday, versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka versus Kofi Kingston. And our star of the week, you'll be very surprised as to who it is. The Pro Wrestling Report Primetime starts right now.
Number one since 1998 on television, ESPN Radio, and the World Wide Web, this is the Pro Wrestling Report. With your hosts, the man they call Meathead, Frank Cosentino, and Damian Nelson. Professional wrestling news, opinion, and information from fans for fans.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time for Friday, October 23rd, 2009. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside the man they call Meathead, who is ready for Halloween already. What do you call that mask?
Again, you are so lucky. You're so far away from me. Where is everybody? It's just you and me. You know what? I had such a great time having Octavius Hero, having Frank Cosentino, and anybody else that'd be here just to keep me from having to talk to you for 30 solid minutes.
We still don't know where Frank is. Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Cooper are working on that angle right now. There's something about a balloon, aluminum foil, duct tape.
There's no way. Frank, this isn't personal, but there's no way you're floating off the ground.
It's a larger balloon.
It's got to be a Zeppelin, if that's the case.
And David Harrell not able to be with us today either. However, we do have a lot to cover. Firstly, Meathead, let's talk about this past Sunday's TNA Bound for Glory pay-per-view. It is their biggest pay-per-view of the year. And quite frankly, the only way you would know that is because they keep telling you that. Let's talk about the show, and let's talk about it match by match, and let's talk about our predictions and how they may or may not have gone in each of those matchups.
Okay.
The first match we'll talk about is the Ultimate X matchup, which became for the X Division Championship. Amazing Red, Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin,
who are late ads,
Homicide, all in that matchup. Your thoughts on that match, Ultimate X for the X Division Championship?
It's a great match, but why Red came out of it with the belt? Again, he's got a hype, man, so maybe Red is worth having as champion right now.
Great match overall. A couple of moments
absolutely
in that match, obviously, that were a little bit scary, specifically when Daniels and I believe Suicide took that very, very nasty fall from the cables crisscrossing the top of the ring down to the apron. It looked as if Daniels was in for a long-term injury to his head or neck. Luckily, that would not be the case, as he did come out unscathed, essentially unscathed from that matchup. But Amazing Red did retain the X Division Championship. I thought it was a smart move, Meathead, because Amazing Red, a man who was jobbing a few weeks back on TNA Impact, is now being thrust as a top competitor.
I don't think that's a
division.
good move, though. Again, he has to have the hype man. That is Don West.
Who wasn't at ringside for some reason or another.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Didn't make any.
If he's got a hype man, it's going to talk for him, because Amazing Red is terrible on the microphone. Terrible.
Well,
Terrible.
I think we've heard 3 words out of him on the microphone. So
That's
it's
why
difficult to judge. The TNA Knockouts Championship was on the line. ODB versus Tara versus Awesome Kong. This one was bizarre due to the involvement outside the ring by Kim Couture, who his name I'm probably saying wrong again. But
I'm just going to let you dangle by your own
things
news.
got a little weird because you really never saw what happened, or B, was told what may have happened. It wasn't sold properly.
Did it get weird?
Things got weird.
Did it get weird?
Tara leaving the match for a little while. ODB shown in a very strong fashion in that matchup against Awesome Kong, who was back to somewhat of her monstering ways. ODB retaining the Knockouts Championship in this matchup. Meathead.
Yeah, Kim Couture, the wife of MMA fighter Randy Couture, and I'm probably saying it wrong too. I'm going to be completely honest. Again, weird, unexplained. You knew it had to be some sort of work when JB tweeted that there was some sort of altercation with her. More to follow this Thursday on Impact was his tweet. So
yeah, which happened at the in the later part of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, but
that's the only explanation you got, though.
Yeah, my point being that just if you're going to do something, if you're going to have some sort of interaction, make it worth something. That wasn't worth anything.
Didn't come off well on TV, and the moment wasn't captured well enough for anybody to care or know what that was going on, nor care who she was.
Yeah.
But again, let's see what happens over the course of the next few weeks and see how it's explained. Maybe that's deliberate.
Who knows?
That matchup, though, the way it was picked, you and You were the only
Dave
one-
canceled. Yeah, Dave
You
canceled.
were the only one that picked ODB in that matchup. Both Dave Hero and I going with Awesome Kong, which would not come to fruition. Notice we didn't give you the results of our picks from that first matchup
because it changed.
It changed substantially. The Motor City Machine Guns being
But I would have picked Red
after that
if
win.
I would have known.
Of course you would have, Mr. Heenan. TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship was on the line in about a 3-minute match between Taylor Wilde and Sarita, the champions, and the beautiful people, Velvet Sky and Madison Rain.
Their entrance, and I'm not talking about the beautiful people, but Madison Rain and Sarita, a little exaggerated. A little bit too much.
In case you haven't noticed, all of the knockouts are doing some type of little presentation performance, if you will, on top of the ramp, which
it's too much.
Doesn't look natural. Is the problem. If
it's
it looked
too
natural,
much.
then it'd be. It's like, are you divas or not? There's a little bit
Because
of
the
divas
divas-
coming into
yeah.
this knockouts division that I'm not a fan of at all.
The Divas have been doing that for about a minute as well. We picked the beautiful people to win, and I thought as long as Lacey was able to stay at ringside, that there'd be a chance. But apparently Earl's been around the block a couple times.
That's what I heard.
And kisses from Lacey just ain't doing it anymore.
The beautiful people would not be successful as Sarita and Taylor Wilde retain the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships. The match really is difficult to rate because it was so short, but it was entertaining while it lasted. It certainly wasn't a great match.
It is what it is.
Was what it was, and all of us did pick the beautiful people, so we were wrong in that matchup. The only one where none of us got the winner predicted in that one. Monsters Ball Meathead. Stevie was the guest referee.
Dr. Stevie.
Daphne was at ringside, and Mick Foley and Abyss were the participants. This one was Monsters Ball, and it was goofy, silly, laughable at times, but overall, as far as an entertaining matchup, I thought it delivered.
Bravo to Zombie Hot Daphne for
She took a bump.
right through the and broken arm apparently.
Daphne, of course, injured from that chokeslam she took from Abyss through the barbed wire board onto the floor, which was awesome, by the way. Very good execution by them. Now, this matchup saw Abyss win, which is what we hoped would happen. We all did pick Abyss, aside from you, who picked Mick Foley in that matchup. But what this did do was put Abyss in the clear category of being the owner of the match. And I think that's what needed to have happened in this contest. And again, a lot of different reviews out there. A lot of people saying that this was the worst moment of the night.
You sure you didn't write that wrong? Because I swore I picked Abyss.
Oh, no, initially you didn't pick anybody. Then you called me a sissy. Then I said, like, you were in that match. And then you said Mick Foley.
So basically, I meant Abyss.
Cal
but then
took
you guys,
very good notes.
You guys,
Cal
you guys tricked me into saying Mick Foley.
Somebody tricked you in it? Okay.
That's fine.
Miss Clinton. A lot of mixed reviews on that match online, and from a lot of the reports that we received, I, for one, thought it was entertaining, especially the taser spot.
That's not entertaining, by the way. The taser spot, not at all. Because you're not going to know when you're in the crowd that it's a taser unless you see the pop.
Which may or may not have happened at the right moment. The TNA World Tag Team and IWGP Tag Team Championships were on the line in a tables, ladders, and chairs match, I guess.
It's
It all of a
called
sudden
Metal
became-
Mayhem. Or,
Unless you listen to the pre-match promo. Or the pre-show where Team 3D referenced tables, ladders, and chairs 3 times. I'm sure WWE Legal
Oh my!
a hold of them. And then also before the matchup, referencing the Astrodome match, did Doug Williams in that pre-match. But we would see the British Invasion come out, the new TNA World Tag Team Champions, and Team 3D come out the new IWGP Tag.
and how did I predict that one? That sounds like a winner chicken dinner to me.
Well, that one also, all 3 of us picked beer money in that matchup because at the time we were under the impression it was winner takes all. Wrong!
I'm telling you, I picked the Dudleys to win the IWGP.
You did not. You picked beer money. Beer money. Beer money.
Wrote
That's
it
the
down wrong
only
again.
other match where we all
Wrote it
3
down
got
wrong
Yeah,
again.
you're just a victim. What'd you think of the matchup? We saw Rhino get involved. We saw Big Rob Terry get involved.
Well, Rob Terry getting involved is nothing more than kick, punch, punch, kick.
No, that's John Cena, I thought. Oh, you suplex, kick, punch, punch.
Right. Don't forget, he's got 2 other moves, according to them. It was fun. I didn't like the Rhino part. It makes no sense to me. Understand we're taping this prior to have watched the Impact afterwards, so.
You know, it was a good match. I didn't expect the British Invasion
It was
to come
fun.
out with the tag straps. timing was a little off at times, but that's going to happen. It's happened in a lot of these matches.
But if I knew, and this is not a kayfabe, if I would have knew that it was separate belts, the team to have the IWGP would have been the Dudleys. Because they're the ones that have wrestled overseas, and they're the ones that are respected. They're the ones that brought the belts from over there. So they can take them back.
Booker T stretchered out early in that matchup from an injury. We've since learned, as we talked about last week on this very program, Booker T no longer with TNA Wrestling. He has departed that company, and they've parted ways with each other. And it may be time again to all hail King Booker! If it were to happen, Royal Rumble, just picture it, wherever it is, January 2010. Music hits. And it's so understated as that music that it would be perfect. And then you hear Charmel, the voice of reason, the queen. All hail King Booker! Come on, buy into it.
No. Book's done, dude. He's done.
Well, it depends on who you ask. I mean, Booker T has given a lot of interviews recently outside of TNA, specifically talking about how he wanted to have one match with Shawn Michaels. He feels that that's what he wants to do and wants to spend some time in WWE. He's been fairly public with that.
Even the way he
statement.
left WWE a little
Well, keep in
over a
mind,
year and a half ago.
Over 2 years ago, here's how he left. He failed a wellness violation, his second one. 60 days was supposed to be the suspension. He chose to leave the company instead of serving that suspension. He has stated many a time that there is no ill will, no ill feelings between him and WWE. Take a look at the interview we did with him, actually, right here on this very program, and just listen to what he says and listen to his comments about World Wrestling Entertainment, comparatively speaking, to TNA. So I think that door may be open, and especially if you look at what they can do with a known commodity that is Booker T.
They put him on ECW.
Rob Terry just about killed Robert Roode.
Rob Terry is your next big thing, so you better talk nice about the guy.
It was a three-way match for the TNA Legends Championship. Hernandez and Eric Young were the challengers to Kevin Nash's championship belt. Eric Young would walk out the new TNA
And I
Legends
picked that one right,
champion.
too.
No, you picked Nash.
What is wrong with you guys? Get it right when I pick them.
David Harrell picked Eric Young, I picked Hernandez, and you picked Nash.
Ugh. Cal, you are done.
But anyways, Eric Young, continuing the elevation of the British invasion, which was the story of the night.
World
World Elite, exactly. One of the stories coming out of Bound for Glory, which was the Main Event Mafia, which, if we can be so kind as to provide a spoiler alert.
When is this airing, by the way?
Friday.
Day after. Whoop, whoop, whoop. It's not really a spoiler.
Some people may have DVR'd it and not gotten to it yet because we're fresh Friday morning at pwrshow.com before anywhere else. The Main Event Mafia disbanded, done, gone. Not gonna work here anymore. And we saw that happen at Bound for Glory, and we saw World Elite step up, if you will, and also a new addition to the TNA roster, Nigel McGuinness, who also has a new name.
Wolf Blitzer.
No. But Eric Young pulls the swerve, I guess, on Kevin Nash and walks out the Legends champion. Meathead, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's nice for Eric. The belt's just about as big as he is. So,
I will say this. If you look at a picture a year ago and 2 years ago of Eric Young and look at him now, he has gotten himself into great ring shape. And his character has developed to a degree that I don't think anyone could have ever predicted. There have been those, including myself, that have compared him to Chris Jericho. Certainly not on the same level, but if you had to compare him to an athlete currently in the business, I think that would be as close as you can get. Eric Young, a good, solid leader of World Elite, which apparently is now the top faction in TNA Wrestling.
And the top group of heels.
The mixed martial arts was the competitor to Total Nonstop Action. Samoa Joe versus Bobby Lashley. Here's an important note in that matchup. Samoa Joe was the fan favorite. Bobby Lashley was greeted with a substantial course of boos, which I'm not sure anybody could have predicted. I think the match went just over 10 minutes.
Oh, it's
a
twice
good
as long
match,
as it
though.
should have.
And in my opinion, it was a good match. I'm not sure what I expected out of that match, but I thought it was a good match in its execution. Samoa Joe not able to get the win. Bobby Lashley goes over.
Joe just out of nowhere tapped out. Again, the finish was just...
Well, here's the reason, though. What was Bobby Lashley's big submission move? Let's take a look at Breaking Point. You knew The Undertaker had his moves. You knew CM Punk had his moves going into it. You knew what they would probably finish the match with. You didn't know that as it pertained to Bobby Lashley. You knew that Samoa Joe would probably use the Katina Clutch.
Bad build-up.
Could be the case.
And bad billing for the match, too. MMA versus TNA.
And they walked away from that slightly, ever so slightly, before the actual event.
Thank you for watching the program here.
Bobby Lashley, the winner in that matchup, and I think the real story here is the fan reaction to Bobby Lashley, and as you'll hear about on next week's edition of PWR Interactive, you'll find out about what some of you had to say about that.
Also, you know who kind of, and she didn't make her debut in TNA, but was spotted at ringside. The first time we've seen her since almost marrying Teddy Long.
Till he had that thing.
Till he had that thing. Oh, Wheezy.
With this thing.
Wheezy. Oh, Wheezy.
Crystal
Marshall, excuse me.
Who cares, though?
Oh,
To be honest with you, it's a valid point to bring up, but who cares?
Yeah, but she was beautiful. That's all it was for. That's all it mattered.
Crystal or Alicia?
Alicia.
Dave, Crystal or Alicia?
Alicia! She bumps like Kurt Hennig!
Ugh. Exactly.
Kurt Angle versus Matt Morgan. Was wrestling's future versus wrestling's best.
Remember, before we watched this pay-per-view, in the preview, I said this is the match I would pay to watch on the card.
Matt Morgan showed up. Matt Morgan delivered. Now, here's the thing. Matt Morgan, and let's mark the tape from weeks and months ago when I became a Matt Morgan fan and was talking about how much stronger he had gotten. This night, TNA Bound for Glory really put the exclamation point on that. Now, you got to give a lot of the credit to Kurt Angle in that matchup, but you'd be stupid not to give any credit to Matt Morgan as well. They delivered a great match, which was billed as having a 15 or 20-minute time limit, which made no sense, by the way.
Why?
Made no sense at all. And
On
I think
a pay-per-view?
Here's the other important point. They went within 30 seconds of that time limit, and nobody ever noted or nobody ever said a word about it. Remember when the Fink used to do countdowns when they did close to?
Yeah.
But anyways, great matchup. Some are talking one of the best matches of the night, if not the best match of the night. Meathead, your thoughts?
With the exception of Ultimate X, which is going to usually get close to best match of the night. This is the match. This is the one that I enjoyed the most. Had me sitting on the couch, intently watching.
On the edge? Did the
Wasn't
cushion
on-
flip?
No, I'm not that big.
Good matchup.
I
Kudos
picked that
to
winner
both
too, by
Matt
the way.
Morgan and Kurt Angle. You did pick Morgan, as did I, and Dave Hero
And
picked
just like I picked Bobby Lashley.
David Hero picked Kurt Angle. You did pick Bobby Lashley, as did all three of us in that matchup. The main event, AJ Styles versus Sting for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Would Sting pass the torch? Would Sting retire?
Would
Well,
Sting
he
forget
would
where the
pass
hard
torch.
camera is?
He would pass the torch, but he would not retire. AJ Styles walks out still the world champion, and here's my problem with this. While the match was good, I thought Sting really stepped up and delivered a better match than we could have expected from him. I didn't say it was great, though. Your champion, AJ Styles, your champion, the man holding the biggest prize in your organization, should not be Sting's bitch. And what I mean by that is, and I get how they wanted to get there, but I don't agree with it. He wins the title decisively. He retains the title decisively. It can become Sting's moment, but you don't have to make it Sting's moment. We did that last month. We did that on Impact for the last several weeks as well. I thought it diminished AJ just a little bit at the end of that pay-per-view because Sting was the end result. And while he may not be Brett Favre on a Sears commercial, he
Which he alluded to.
he did. He did not make an announcement, basically, and I think it was genuine. He doesn't know what he wants to do. I'm not sure if it should be his decision
Or
at this point.
stare at the right camera.
Your thoughts on that?
You would
main
think
event matchup?
a 20-plus year veteran would know where the hard camera is.
6 sides.
You would
Very
think.
difficult. You got 6 choices now.
No. Where the hard camera is always going to be in the same spot.
Your thoughts on the match?
It was flat. It was very flat. And again, maybe it's because we were just coming off of Angle Morgan. Maybe Angle Morgan should have been the third from the top, give you a spacer in between. Maybe they should have put Lashley Joe in the middle, and then Sting AJ at the end.
I really thought all the matches were in the right places. I don't agree with the timing given to a lot of the matches. However, this pay-per-view went till 1 minute to 10 Central Time, so that you got 3 hours.
Count again
worth.
the Sting speech.
Correct. You got, and that started at 9:57, I believe. You got 3 hours worth of wrestling, but the question is, did you get $40 worth? And that is a question for you to answer.
Or high definition, which it was available in.
That's a question for you to answer out there, those of you who did purchase it. I thought it was a good show, but again, the question I ask is, what was special about it? You talk about Bound
Joey
for
the
Glory,
fat one. That's who was special.
only on the pre-show, which was on DirecTV, by the way, and they never really announced that. Sort of found it by mistake. But you know, you got WrestleMania, and you got Bound for Glory, and obviously WrestleMania, WWE's biggest pay-per-view of the year, Bound for Glory, TNA's biggest pay-per-view of the year. And while TNA has not said this is our WrestleMania publicly, they've said it to us in interviews that we've done with several talents on this program. But you look at the WrestleManias in the world, simple things. Not a tuxedo in the house. Nobody had really an enhanced entrance or anything special.
Joey the
about
fat
their
one,
entrance.
as I mentioned in my tweets, which never got retweeted, by the way.
You never
but
tweeted anything.
I tweeted a whole page full. Anyway,
You think you did.
Joey the fat one was wearing jackets that we have, just with TNA patches on them.
But that's fine.
But you got to wear
It was a
something a
pre-show,
little bit higher. You gotta,
anytime they
if it's
do
a
a
pre-show
pre-show-
for the top show, you're in a tuxedo, as you just said. If you're doing commentary for the top show, you're in a tuxedo.
I go back to this. Several times back in the day when Goldust would do commentary on whatever program it was, his headset was gold. If it wasn't, who would have cared or noticed? Nobody. But it was. It's the details. It's those little things. It's those little details that make things special. And I'm not sure if TNA did make this Bound for Glory special. Granted, they were outside the Impact Zone, hadn't been for a while. Granted, they were in Los Angeles for the first time, hadn't been ever, obviously. They did fan interaction, which was a very well-reviewed event. But at the same time, when you look at the 3-hour presentation, what was special? And that's the question that's out there. That was TNA Bound for Glory this past Sunday on page.
By the way, T and Damien, I hope you didn't butter that pay-per-view up too much because of the mark that you are for TNA. I hope you
I
just...
thought it was a WWE mark.
It changes every day. Now, was that your opinion, or was that you just pulling the company line?
It's not the opinion of Matt G, who sends in this week's competitors for Versus. And this one's a doozy. It's interesting. We're going to take the Superfly Splash of Jimmy Superfly Snuka, or Jimmy the Superfly Snuka, and put him up against the former Jamaican, Kofi Kingston.
Well, he's been busted out, obviously. He's not Jamaican anymore because Triple H put him out on Front Street.
Yeah, he did.
Terrible.
I'm sorry, you mentioned DX and I
Go.
became disinterested. Superfly Snuka, obviously a legend in the business, a Hall of Famer, 6'0", 257 pounds, billed as being for the
Is that
Fiji
at his
Islands.
playing weight?
At his playing weight, exactly, at his peak, up against Kofi Kingston. 6 foot 1 inches tall, 221 pounds from Ghana, West Africa. You've got the Trouble in Paradise versus the Superfly Splash. In his day, Superfly Snuka, in my opinion, had nothing on the speed of Kofi Kingston.
Absolutely not at all. The only thing that Snuka had was the fact that in his day, a Samoan or somebody like that, Hawaiian or whatever he was being billed at that point, had a hard head. That's what those guys could do. He jumped like nobody else jumped. But now we're talking modern day Kofi Kingston. I mean, he can jump over people. He can leap over people. His athleticism is off the charts. He's lean, mean. I mean, in his playing weight, Jimmy Snuka still had fat on him. I don't think Kofi has body fat.
But Jimmy was in great shape back in the day.
But compared to the way they are now, I don't think Kofi's got any body fat on him.
Talent and skill certainly fall into the favor of Jimmy Superfly Snuka, depending on just about at what point, at any point in his career that you're talking about. But I think ingenuity, innovation, and athleticism falls in the hand of Kofi Kingston.
But if we're talking about being able to get the crowd to interact in the match, Jimmy's going to win that one.
Boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, but Jimmy's got him. I think
It'd be a good matchup. Be very interesting. The more and more I think about it, the better off it gets.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to call it a draw. 60-minute time limit draw.
Now I'd go with...
You're going to say Snuka.
No, I'm going to go with... Well...
Go
So
on,
much
it's
of this
okay.
depends on
It's okay,
the
'cause if
span
you-
of time you're talking
Sure.
about.
Say Snuka.
As far as pure skill, pure talent, who would win this match as it pertains to being a wrestling match, I would have to go with at the peak of their career. And I don't think we've seen Kofi's peak yet.
So you can't judge because you don't know what his peak will be.
But I'm going to go with the Shuba Fly.
I'm going to have to go with Superfly as well, only because we don't know
Shuba.
the maximum that Kofi's going to reach. He could be at his peak right now, and
If
we
you
don't
ask
know.
Octave, the opinionist.
We don't know. Well, he doesn't like coffee because he thinks coffee's not entertaining to him.
Does he have cream in his coffee?
I don't know what he's doing.
Thank you very much, Matt G, for sending that in. Remember, you pick the competitors for Versus. One competitor of old school variety and one of the current day. You can send those to comments at pwrshow.com. Again, that's comments at pwrshow.com. And we will go ahead and select an email each and every week to talk about Versus Fantasy Warfare Media. Let's go to this week's Star of the Week, and I think, Meathead, you're going to be a little bit surprised as to who this week's Star of the Week is. As a matter of fact, when I selected this week's Star of the Week, I was a little surprised. This guy was a little bit surprised as to who it was. Hunter Hearst Helmsley is this week's Pro Wrestling Report Star of the Week, and here's why.
Surprised isn't the right word, Damien.
Frustrated isn't the god beep word for it. This is bull beep. You screwed me. Everybody screwed me. Everybody in that goddamn dressing room knows I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
I'm sorry, folks.
And if you don't like it, tough beep.
Sorry, folks, for both the language there. Brett's a little upset.
Triple H, here's why.
Yeah.
We saw the King of Kings this Monday on Raw up against John Cena. We saw a good match between John Cena and Triple H this past Monday. We saw the cerebral assassin Triple H this past Monday night, which we haven't had a chance to see in quite a while. We've seen this goofy, stupid DX stuff, which I'm sorry, I am on record. On record. Intolerable is the word I will use to describe DX of today. Entertaining.
Who said they were entertaining?
Me, my opinion. Entertaining at times, but intolerable. I am sorry. How am I to believe, especially when I see it in one night, how am I to believe that Triple H, the King of Kings, the cerebral assassin, is a goofy, teenage-minded man making fun of other people? And some of the stuff they did on Monday was interesting, but that's not the point. The point is Triple H, the cerebral assassin, the King of Kings, carried John Cena to a tremendous match this past Monday night on Raw, thus making him the Star of the Week.
He's not the Star of the Week. There's absolutely no way. That stuff that he did, and I'm being polite, that stuff that he did in the beginning of the show makes me not want to watch wrestling anymore. It's not entertaining. Not in the least.
But the problem is, and we've talked about this many a time on this very program, it is entertaining to millions of people out there. So
to
you
me,
can't fault
this
WWE
reporter,
for doing it.
This reporter, it's not entertaining. Now, there'll be some jackanapes that'll say, well, you know, doesn't Damien and Meathead act like goofs? No.
I'm only 32.
Doesn't matter how old I am.
I got 8 years of goofiness left in me.
Doesn't matter how old I am. What I'm telling you is I am not entertained by Shawn Michaels wearing something around his neck.
I think he was sick. Remember, we never really got it explained why he wasn't at Raw last week. I think he was sick.
Don't care. I don't care. And when are we going to get a heel guest host? Because when we have faces, basically that means Shawn Michaels and Triple H run the show all night.
Best part of Raw this past week, and we'll close that up. Triple H Star of the Week, still in my opinion, the King of Kings, not DX Triple H. Best part about Raw last week, in addition to that match between Triple H and Cena, summed up in 2 words.
Good grief.
Excuse me!
Oh, no.
Excuse me! Blah, 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 blah. I said excuse me!
Oh, no.
Vicky is one of the top heels in the last 5 years in this business. Mark it, I said it. Vicky Guerrero, one of the top heels in the last 5 years of this business.
How did you not get what I was going for?
What's good grief?
Charlie Brown, man.
Charlie Brown wasn't on Raw.
Santino with the hair out of his thing. That was Charlie Brown. How do you not get that? Good grief.
Excuse me.
Fail. You failed.
The 2009 Pro Wrestling Report honors are coming your way on December 11th, 2009. Yesterday you found out what the categories for the week were, and they are the most shocking moment of the year and the broadcast team of the year. You can send your nominations to honors@pwrshow.com, honors@pwrshow.com, and coming up after November 4th, we're going to be announcing the finalists, and you will have the opportunity to vote throughout the entire month of November for this year's honors. Meet it fan-driven, fan-powered, fan-controlled, is what this year-end awards show is. And
Fan responsible, too, because when you don't like the picks, you voted for them.
there will be some additional categories announced on the actual episode of the honors. Some categories will happen automatically based off of your nominees and your final selections, but you can tune into the honors on December 11th to find out more about that. ESPN radio show tentatively scheduled for 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard. I'm sorry, 8 o'clock
p.m. Central.
So wait till I get through this. 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time tonight. Streaming live at pwrshow.com and espnmilwaukee.com. Tentatively planned. I said that 3 times on purpose. Tentatively planned for tonight from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Go ahead and check that out. Streaming live at pwrshow.com. What is not tentative is our time for next Tuesday night. Tuesday, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time to midnight, the Pro Wrestling Report. 2 solid hours of wrestling talk coming up on 540 ESPN and espnmilwaukee.com. You know you can listen to that show live on your iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
This Sunday night, it's WWE Bragging Rights.
Really?
I thought maybe saying it would get me a little excited about it. Let me try it. This Sunday night, it's WWE... I can't even say it.
This Sunday night, Sunday, WWE Bragging Rights! How's that?
Huh?
It's still not gotcha.
It's a pay-per-view.
What emotional investment are we supposed to have in a 7-on-7 match? Are we supposed to root for one brand or another? Are we supposed to? Are we supposed to? We're supposed to root for one or the other. Because each team has heels and faces on them.
Who cares? It's not Survivor Series 2001 when it was WWE versus the Alliance.
Yeah.
It's not anywhere near that. And granted, that was a year of build-up. If that was 6 months of build,
half a year of build-up, yeah.
Who cares? I mean, John Cena and Randy Orton, 1-hour Iron Man match. I am a diehard wrestling fan. Let me tell you what, folks. I am not ordering this pay-per-view.
And if I happen to go to a blast zone to watch this, I will not watch all 1 hour of it. I will be on the Guitar Hero game or something else.
I mean, an hour.
Honestly.
And John Cena's been in an Iron... Wait a minute. They said on Raw this past Monday night, neither man has been in an Iron Man match. Damn it, WWE, stop lying to me.
He's been in a 30-minute Iron Man.
I don't care. He was in an Iron Man match.
My eye blinked when you did that.
He did a very good job in that matchup with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, obviously, the key element in that matchup. You know what? Will it be an entertaining 3 hours from WWE? Probably. Is it worth $40? Not in my opinion. Thus, I will not be ordering it. I have zero desire. Zero. None. Zilch.
See, here's the thing.
See.
Damien's kind of cheap, and I can understand that. I'm not cheap, and I'm not paying for it either.
I have no desire to see that matchup. So let's
hold
talk
on.
about some of the other matchups that are on the card.
Just because we're saying that it's not worth to buy to WWE before it's on doesn't make us TNA marks. We're not working for TNA.
Well, we questioned whether or not Bound for Glory was worth $40 last week.
You didn't ask me if I thought it was worth $40 in it.
We didn't do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Nor did we just ask if people thought bragging rights, it's called, not Unforgiven, was worth it. Anyways, other matches. Raw versus SmackDown Divas match. Team Raw will be comprised of Melina, Kelly, and Gail Kim versus Team SmackDown, Michelle McCool, Beth Phoenix, and Natalya. Here's my question. Did you notice something very peculiarly different about the Divas this past Monday night on Raw that accompanied Snoop to the ring? They were wearing a lot of clothes. They almost look like Stacy Keibler from her WCW days.
Ooh, Miss Standardton practices.
Take a look back at that clip. They're wearing a lot of clothes.
By the way,
Nothing
Raw
revealing.
does replay on Universal if you have Universal on your cable or satellite systems.
That will be a match, and somebody will win. Non-title match for the Intercontinental Championship versus the United States Championship.
Miz versus Morrison. That'll be you know what? No. That'll be a match. That'll be a match to watch.
That's $5 right there. You know what? I think the Miz. Well, shoot, that's a good one though, because either man will benefit from a win, and neither will benefit from a loss in this matchup. It's non-title, so you expect a clean finish, I guess. Last month, John Morrison came out against Dolph Ziggler and was able to be successful in that matchup. The Miz won the United States Championship just after last month's pay-per-view. This one could be interesting.
You bring up a point. I think Dolph Ziggler interferes in the match, knocks out Jomo, giving Miz the win.
Now, when Triple H said some guy who introduces himself referenced Dolph Ziggler this past Monday Night on Raw, wouldn't you think he'd know that they haven't done that in several months?
That's why DX has to stop.
We talked about John Cena versus Orton for the WWE title 6-man Iron Man match. If John Cena loses, he must leave WWE Raw initially forever. No longer using that word. I would expect Randy Orton to win that matchup. John Cena is going to be
moved to SmackDown.
Is going to have some schedule challenges as he is going to be otherwise detained later in the year. And SmackDown might make some sense for him. However, I don't know. Again, it makes sense for Orton to win that matchup, in my opinion. Spoiler alert! Whoop, 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 spoiler alert! Whoop, whoop, whoop. These are results coming up tonight on WWE SmackDown. Team SmackDown has changed substantially. As a matter of fact, everybody but Kane and Jericho are now new on Team SmackDown. You saw a little bit of this hinted at on ECW this past Tuesday night. The new team includes Matt Hardy. Guess he still works for the company. Finlay, R-Truth, David Hart Smith, and Tyson Kidd. Quite frankly, a much better team.
But still, do you care?
No.
No. No.
That's WWE Bragging Rights coming up this Sunday night on pay-per-view. In Depth, ladies and gentlemen, is going to return next week, actually, in the interest of time. We ran out of time. However, we had some great suggestions for In Depth. We'll have it on next week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report. We won't have 2 pay-per-views to cover next week, so make sure you tune into that. Also, if you are watching us on Time Warner Cable in southeastern Wisconsin, be sure to hop on over to the Racine Civic Center tomorrow night. Saturday night, October 24th, TNA Wrestling for the first time live in Racine, Wisconsin. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster.com. We're all going to be at the show, and come on down and join us for what is going
to be the greatest spectacle in Racine.
That is probably the truest thing you've ever said.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since they canceled Harborfest.
Ooh.
Economic problems,
Yeah.
Times are rough. Still cleaning up the last 8 years. That is this week's...
Whoa! That was a shot.
The Pro Wrestling Report. We'll be back with you again tonight, tentatively scheduled tonight, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, streaming live at pwrshow.com. Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, and Tuesday night, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time for next week's edition of the show. For The Cause, and David Octavius Hero, and this one right here, that one. This is the
Whoa, what's my name?
Chad?
Cosmo.
This is Stevie Nelson saying thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime.